Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Northeast Corner. I believe this is going to be episode 7 because not all the guests are coming in order. I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Finn McNeill. Finn, how are you?
Hello, I'm not bad, thank you.
How you doing through these times, man? It's a bit of a weird time that we're going through at the moment on the planet.
Yes, just basically eating anything I can get my hands on, and
Hear you on that one.
just complaining about politics online.
Eating
and politics. That's all.
I mean, that's just kind of like the natural human makeup now, really, isn't it?
The duality of man.
We're evolving. So funnily enough, like it's kind of came full circle in a way, because even though by episode structure you're not going to be the first guest, you are the first guest that we're actually recording with. Which was the same for the first podcast that we did, which is crazy to think was almost 4.5 years ago now.
Yeah, and time has flown.
and let's just say, more humble beginnings than what we were kind of set up with just now. We didn't have mic stands.
No.
One mic stand was a cardboard box.
Yes.
Mine, and you had to bring your own mic, which I kind of feel is kind of like a bring your own bottle event, right? Trying to like get someone to come on your podcast, but having
we
to
all help out.
But yeah, long time ago though, man. It was cool that a friend of ours had sent a picture our way. I think it was back in November, and that it was like I don't want to say 4-year anniversary, but it was just cool looking back at those times.
It is. It really is.
Life comes at you a bit quick. Anyway, mate, let's get right into it. So you are a very creative person in terms of art. Still filmmaker, maybe former filmmaker. How would you like me to word that?
Still filmmaker. Like I'm verge more like animator now, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still
Yeah. So tell me about a bit of your like early life and growing up and that, and then tell me what was the first experience you had of creativity in terms of art and filmmaking and so on that made you realize that you wanted to take it up.
Let's see. So I don't know if this is relevant or not, but so I was born in England, and I came up here. My dad's more of the creative one out of my two parents, so I basically just saw him basically drawing and stuff. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. And then basically just started it myself. Even like animation and stuff, I started pretty early, like just all the stupid like stop motion blue tack and stuff like that. And I just thought it was really cool, and it was a good way to pass the time, especially when you don't really have much to do else. Like when it's great up here, but sometimes there's not enough. Can be a bit
remote.
That's pretty much a summary of like I'd say how I got interested in it in the first place.
Was your dad into animation, or was he more of like a still drawer?
He's more like traditional, like he will like use like oil paints and stuff like that. I could never do that because you have to. There's a lot of studying involved in that, and I'm just lazy. I'll be honest.
So how did that that kind of starting off point, if we will, evolve into like getting into animation and that? Because that seems, even though it's still like a creative sector and that, it's a bit of a jump from your first kind of experience or seeing relating to your dad in terms of
I think it was just, I don't know exactly what point it was, but I think this was actually when like filmmaking came in, because I watched films, and obviously films can move you and stuff, and like
definitely.
Kind of, if you want to say express a message or something, film's a good way to do it, and it's just a medium I enjoyed, and so I tried my hand at like directing and stuff like that, and just editing, and I really enjoyed that, but sometimes when you're like low budget, you can't do everything. My sort of like logic behind that was, at least with animation, I can control every little bit of the scene. If like I need a really fancy looking background, I can just draw it or make it, instead of having to pay for it to film in it, So that's kind of my my thing. But yeah, I just wanted to create art that would not to sound too deep, but like, yeah, just move people and stuff like that, really.
I think it's a chain reaction, right? Like if you see something that is powerful to you, you then think, I want to continue that on. I think it's almost like not a passing of the baton, but it rubs off on people. And I think that's what makes a piece of art or media or whatever powerful in itself. So was this all like your kind of editing and animation skills? Was that mostly self-taught, or did you not invest, but did you take up classes or?
No, it was mainly just self-taught. The joys of YouTube. But I got my hands on professional software through my own means.
The allegedly button's been pushed.
I just started practicing on that, and I think you kind of have to enjoy it to actually do it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, you're not going to put in the amount of time required to get better if you're not enjoying it. Yeah, totally. So, what age did you come up here, mate? From where you were originally born in that?
It was like age 5.
Age 5, so quite early on. So, like the whole I don't want to say manifestation, but the whole stem of getting into like creative stuff and that had not already happened. It was more.
No, it was definitely here.
Yeah,
that happened more. So even though I came here at 5, this is kind of going off a little bit, but like you'll notice I still have a very English accent due to my mom. But so that stuck with me, and I guess kind of haunted me through the meeting of some people. But
struggles, man. So when you came up here, some people will probably remember, but maybe someone that are watching, you formed a filmmaking group. Would this be early years in high school, or maybe mid years in high school, something like that?
Yeah, so it was actually before high school. Me and my friend Innes, we opened like a YouTube channel, just with our names joined together, Finn and Innes. It was Finnis.
Finnis.
And then we just made stupid little kind of like videos that just like made us laugh, and then just tried to make our friends laugh with it and stuff like that. And then Sean came over from South Africa, and we basically became friends with him, and then we basically just created a whole new like kind of trio, and we called ourselves the Three Shades. And that's where it started, really.
And Sean's coming on the podcast. Well, he'll actually be on the podcast before you, but at this moment in time, Sean has not been on the podcast. No. But he will be. Just how the episode's arrangement has worked out. So you started filmmaking. I remember watching a few videos, and a lot of it seemed, from what I can remember, because it was quite a few years ago. There was a lot of kind of, I don't want to say like martial art kind of tone to it, but there was a lot of like action kind of film, not Enter the Dragon, but do you know, like there was a lot of that kind of a part of it.
I would say Sean definitely, I would say, introduced me and Innes into more of the I can
see that from like his solo film work now.
But no, it was a really good, like, it was really fun to edit those sort of fight scenes and stuff, and just like it was a really fun sort of genre to work within, like just this kind of like grindhouse 80s, like, and we hadn't seen a lot of it around, so we thought it was a kind of,
it's quite a unique style, especially for the area.
That was mainly from Sean, I would say, that influence.
So it's fair to say that you guys were quite big fans of the I would say bodybuilding YouTuber, but probably also philosopher and Elliot House, right? And he actually seen one of your videos that was a tribute to him, I believe, or something like that, and he actually commented on it. What was that like for you? Because that must have been quite a surreal moment. Like someone with a massive following on the internet had, seen quite a, I don't want to say, local, you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
I'm trying to get the words out, and it was just like all scrambled in my head.
It was, I basically, he had this competition thing going, basically just he was going to end this section of his he made these videos called Ask You Elliot, where basically people ask him questions and things like that, and he would answer them in his philosophical ways. And he was kind of ending that sort of part of his channel, so he was just like, yo dude, like just create a tribute to this if you want, and I'll pick out the best ones and things like that. So we edited that together and just basically he saw it, and I was like, it was crazy seeing someone so big, like especially someone I looked up to as well, like
sure. Did you all like get on the phone with each other straight away when it happened? I would imagine that
I told them straight. I was like, yo, like jeez,
we're all so pumped.
yeah
that dude's a powerful dude, man. I've watched a lot of his stuff, and even though I probably don't agree with like 100% everything that he says, but I appreciate the way that he delivers his message and stuff like that. I really do. Like there's a few years ago where he'd done a video where people were trying to take like make fun of him or something like that was something that he'd done, right? But
in recent years I'd say he's changed quite a lot. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Get him commenting on this podcast. You might actually get him on this podcast. From fan to hater. The Three Shades versus Elliot House. But but I used to watch a lot of his stuff as well. And it was like pretty powerful. Some of the stuff that he would say, it would definitely make you kind of think outside your own head, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think because he was quite a lot of the comments were quite polarizing. Like a lot of people loved him, a lot of people just thought, he was talking loads of nonsense.
It was kind of like love-hate sort of thing.
I think you can tell that someone's on the right track with powerful messaging when it's that split, because a lot of the time when this happens, it forces self-reflection on people, and some people will deal with that and actually take it on board, and some people will just reject that and attack, and whoever said that, or a third party, and that is a defense mechanism. Yeah, man. So, how long did the Three Shades run for? Because obviously, we're gonna get to a point of where you went on you and Sean went on a bit of a world tour, shall we say? But I think it went on a bit after that as well. I mean, one of the last videos I remember watching is it's quite surreal. The last video, because it's about leaving school, right? If I remember correctly, the last one I watched anyway. And I always remember like there's like this like kind of glowing atmosphere coming out the community center or something like that, and like it's all talking about aspirations and stuff, and it's all getting like really hyped up and really like powerful. And then it just cuts to like the people are being like wasters and stuff like that. So there was always reality. There was always a good comedy element to it as well.
I think with that, it was definitely one of our last videos anyway, but with that, it was kind of, I think a lot of people at least went through that, or at least thought it. Everyone says, oh yeah, I want to do this after school, and then it's just like the actual reality of it, it's a lot harder to do a lot of that stuff, and it wasn't in any way supposed to be like making fun of like people who can't reach their dreams, because it was just the reality of the situation sometimes.
I think it was a good kind of representation of people that talk about their dreams and actually don't like people are great with words, right, but they're not so great with actions.
It's the doing that. Yeah.
So I believe actually you had you submitted a film for was it BBC Avalon competition? Do you know what I'm talking about here? I could be
Mark Commode, the like sort of BBC in-house film critic, I guess you could say. He was hosting like this competition, basically just a short 2-minute I think video it was, and basically the main restriction on it is that it had to be U-rated, and so I have to admit we did struggle with that a little bit, considering our content. So we immediately just looked up what you had to do to be within a U rating.
What can we get away with?
And it turns out not much.
No, not at all.
Turns out not much. And I think we even probably went outside what a U rating was during our actual video, because it included mild violence. This is sounding really bad, but it's like really mild, and like I think that even kind of put it out of the sort of the U-rated bracket. But that was still really cool, that just knowing that, you know, a big sort of film critic and stuff has at least seen it. You just want your work seen more people, so anything like that is good. But yeah,
I think if you should just kind of totally abided by those rules, you probably weren't being true to yourself in terms of the content you were making. Right?
That's the thing.
Like we said, it's about the enjoyment as well as the actual kind of success of it, right? And you know, if you had done something to satisfy someone else, then it's not really yours, right?
No, it becomes a job. Then,
it becomes like a project for, like, you know, you know, like a show and tell thing. You
exactly.
You know, you're getting told what to make, so yeah. Fair. Did you? What place did you come? Was there like a place system?
It wasn't really. It was just basically
pick a winner.
Yeah, there's just one winner. Yeah, but unfortunately, they didn't give any like feedback or anything on any of the pieces. But
can you talk about what a little bit what that film was about? I think I might have actually seen the trailer for it, but
so that was, if I remember correctly, it's actually escaping my mind now. But it was about sort of how exams are kind of like more geared towards sort of academic thinkers rather than creative thinkers.
Yeah.
And I think so basically the main character, while he's doing his exam, he kind of does his exam visually, and it's all in his imagination. And basically he's having this fight in his head with the examiner. And then at the end, basically, it turns out he's been storyboarding all of this that's been going on in his head, and the examiner basically throws his submission in the bin. And basically, it's just supposed to be sort of, you know, creativity isn't as rewarded or maybe as recognized in the school system, I guess.
It's not as appreciated by the... I don't want to say the establishment. That's a bit sinister, but
the man.
You know, I know what you mean. Like the school system, education kind of side of things. It's not as encouraged as much, right?
No,
it's something that even from me when I kind of left school and wanted to kind of get into, you know, I used to do like flip books and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much now, but like back when, you know, you're 15 and you know, you're out of school, you got time on your hands and stuff. When I went to like an employment, you know, like one of these employment kind of interview things for young people, and that they kind of like slammed that down straight away. They kind of like, you know that's there, but let's, you know, I'm not saying that you should say to people, oh, just go for that and don't do anything else, but at the same time, on the other end of it, like totally kind of just saying, in fact, you shouldn't even do that, you know, like, you know, come up with another hobby, you know.
It's like, especially like, sorry to interrupt you there, but that is like the subject art, if you take it as well, as a lot of people take it for a skive. So, you know, it's not seen as a serious thing. I'm sure it's the same with things like PE and stuff like that. It's seen as like the easy subjects, which I guess might be partially true, but like if something you know you actually are serious about, you're kind of surrounded by people that are just taking it for a skive. Yeah, definitely. Which is quite annoying.
I think that's why they put such an emphasis in school on maths and English, right? They always seem to think that those two things are the only things, not the only things that you'll need, but the main things that you'll get a job through or make a career out of. And I think it's quite narrow-minded to think that intelligence can just be, you know, when people say you're intelligent, I don't really like when people say that.
It's such a vague...
It's a very broad thing, right? Because what is intelligence, right? Like, you know, we can sit here and speak about films and speak about topics and all that kind of thing, but someone that can, you know, make a house out of like wood, bricks, cement and all that, you know, we can't do that. So they're more intelligent than us on that front. So I don't think intelligence is just one, you know, one part of...
you can't compare all intelligence.
It's not, because I think there is like a kind of like a stigma, like, let's just say if someone's not the best reader, they would say, oh, he's not intelligent, or someone's not the best speller, or he's not intelligent, or they're not intelligent, and I just don't buy that. It's like, especially from, we actually used to talk a lot about Alan Watts, the philosopher, as well.
Exactly.
Listen to a lot of his stuff. That really like opened my mind up. Not like he was saying anything about that. I believe in the things that I was listening to, but the kind of message he had of like opening the mind up and kind of thinking outside the box really like really made me go outside my own head and what I'd experienced, and actually kind of thought about it in a very objective, 360 kind of thought process.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, good. But so 2016 comes along. Well, actually, no, we'll keep it 2015 because I'd imagine that you and Sean had kind of planned this for a bit before actually embarking on it.
Yeah.
In 2016.
Just at the last years of school, it was basically just want to try and do something basically before either work or studying.
Yeah.
Because I guess we felt like we wouldn't be able to do it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least until after we'd finished that. But just basically planning which countries to go to. It was, to be honest, which countries we went to was kind of last minute. It was basically, we kind of just had a map where we were like, do you want to go there?
Yeah.
And there? All right. Yeah. I've heard that's cool, and then just went from there.
Lucky it wasn't last year that you did it in the midst of all this that's going on. You imagine that?
That would have been,
that would have
honestly
sucked.
A nightmare.
And that actually happened at the start, right? A lot of people had to get repatriated or whatever it's called, and there's people stuck in hostels halfway around the world.
Yeah.
And that. Crazy, man.
I can't imagine that, yeah.
So, towards the end years of school, who brings the idea up? Is it a mutual kind of thing, or does one of you suggest it to the other?
Yeah, it was more of a kind of just I think one of us suggested it. I think, but like we were kind of just thinking it anyway. I mean, me and Isan and Sean, like we were all sort of had the same sort of general. I don't know how to say it, like life view, I guess.
Yeah,
like
thought process.
We wanted to actually enjoy ourselves and stuff. So, but yeah, and then we just basically just started saving up for it, and then that was that basically. It was actually very it was the only thing that, so I worked in Walker's biscuit factory at the time, and it was honestly the only thing that kept me going was like the thought of like, oh come on, you go into across the world, so yeah. But
so how long did it take you to save up for something like that? It must have been a good year and a bit, right?
I think it definitely helped that we still live with our parents because we didn't have to
didn't have
things like rent and stuff like that. We didn't really have any responsibilities, to be honest, at that point, so it was a perfect time to save. And then it was about, to be honest, it was only about a year that it took. And then, I mean, I'll admit the countries that we chose were sort of the ones that we knew would be more financially viable, to actually stay in. Things like, Thailand is quite expensive to get to, but once you're there, it's
not expensive to stay
No,
there.
exactly, yeah.
So I actually remember we were having like conversations towards the end of 2015. I think we'd only like met once at that point. We were talking about maybe working on something.
Yeah.
And then I messaged you in February 2016. I was like, oh, do you fancy meeting up? And it was like, and you just dropped this bombshell of, I'm actually away for 9 months, dude. And I was like, what? I was like, what's going on here? Man. But so when did you set off? Was it about March time? March?
No, it was. I think it must have been around the time you messaged me. Actually, like
literally,
February,
literally the day
as
after.
I was getting on the plane, you were like, "Oh no,
I've been had."
Yeah.
So the first destination you went to was Canada.
Yes.
And is it fair to say that there was turbulence in trying to get into the country to start with? Start as you mean to go on, I suppose.
Yeah. So I think it was our fault, I think, but we basically filled in. So they give you these kind of forms to get into the country, customs forms, I guess. Yeah. And one of the questions was, are you bringing 10,000 or more in cash into the country? And we were like, well, I guess we have that like combined in our bank account, so I guess yes. Yeah. Obviously, that was the wrong answer, because when the customs guy saw the form, he was like, "Right, to this room, please." And we basically got interrogated for a good like 45 minutes, an hour, until they realized that we'd actually made a mistake on the form. Yeah. And they were like, it was like questions like, "What are you doing in the country? Like, are you doing something dodgy with his money?" It's like, why you got 10,000 in cash? Like,
where is that 10,000 in cash?
Yeah. Your bags are kind of small, but yeah, it was just it probably was our fault, but it was just a terrible like experience. Like it has been apparently a thing for like a lot of people said this about getting into Canada anyway.
It's quite a process trying to get in there. Yeah. Even from just going over the border from the United States and that, apparently I've heard. So yeah, I don't think it's abnormal what you've experienced, but was that probably one of the most strenuous, stressful 45-hour time periods of your life?
Yeah, and it was just like it was our first. Yeah, it was like literally our first day of traveling, and we were and we thought we were going to be sent home basically. And we're like, oh, that was good then.
So yeah. So what city? Sorry, did you fly into Canada?
I think it was like Inverness to Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
So you come out of the airport. Where do you go from there?
We stayed with some of Sean's family. They're originally from South Africa, but they moved to Canada. So we stayed with them for about a month just to kind of settle us into like a new country, and just like living away from home for the first time, I guess. And then we went off and moved on to some of like our first hostels and things like that. Canada was probably a good choice, I think, for our first country because it was different, but at least some things were familiar, like the language.
It was like a good transitional period.
Yeah. So it kind of prepared us for like what was to come with like the more I guess challenging countries and things like that. So yeah.
I take it you met a lot of like people in the hostels? Did you get to speaking to any of them?
Yeah. It's not to sound like the stereotypical like, oh, do a traveler, you know. Like, yeah, you do meet a lot of people. Not always. Most of them are absolutely great. You meet the odd. Well, that's with anything, I suppose. You meet the odd like person you don't really want to see again. Yeah. But yeah, and it kind of with traveling a lot of the time we notice you don't really have to look for things to do. There'll be people that'll be like, oh, hey, do you want to come along and do this with us? And a lot of that was just kind of we just kind of went with the flow, not to sound too like
too cliche. Yeah. So how long did you spend in Canada for? Was it about maybe a couple months?
I think it was 3 months actually on the dot. Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was really good. I'd love to
go back.
Yeah, to go back, take my girlfriend and things like that. I would say.
Did you get to do anything that I don't want to use the word touristy, but like, did you get to go any like tourist spots or anything?
I would say, no. We went to Whistler, which is arguably touristy. We didn't ski or anything. We kind of got there and realized that unless you are skiing, there's not really much to do. We're like, okay, that's cool, mountain. That would be cool to ski down if we had skis.
We could just imagine it in our heads.
Just sitting at the bottom. But I would say that was probably the most touristy place we went. We went like white water rafting and things, but it wasn't anything too well known. I think me and Sean both agreed that we're, I guess, in kind of like hipster thinking, where we're like, oh, we're not going to do the touristy stuff,
You want to kind of go a bit unorthodox.
Like off the beaten path a little bit.
Would it be fair to say like the travels and that were to like not just to enjoy yourselves and before studying and working that, but also to kind of add to both your kind of creative thinking and that, because they say that travel and like we've talked about the opening of the mind and that, I'd imagine travel's a good organic way of doing that because you get to meet and see different cultures and meet new people.
Just even like just growing in general, I would say, as like a person, and you guess like going from I guess like a kid to an adult, again, not trying to sound too cliche, but it's
the truth though, right? Because we're both 17, 18 when you embarked on this.
Both 18, so looking back on it now, I guess we were quite young.
Time flies, man.
Yeah, but I definitely say I changed a lot from. I didn't realize it at first, but seeing a lot of stuff. Seeing stuff changes you. So your outlook. So yeah. So
had you already made your mind up the next country you were going to go to after Canada, or?
Yeah. We kind of had a general layout where like. Canada, and then just South America.
Yeah, because it went Canada, Brazil, and then you cross borders to Bolivia for a little. Well, I say cross borders. That sounds like a bit of like an action film, like they crossed borders.
Yeah.
You know, like you went to Bolivia for a bit to see something there, and then you ended up in Thailand, and then came back.
Brazil, and then we went basically west, just basically all along to Peru. We were going to go to Argentina, but it was kind of in the end out of our way.
Yeah.
So, but it's not one of those things where you kind of go country to country and you're like, oh, it's all the same. But like every single country had its very specific sort of culture, I would say.
So time comes up in Canada.
Yeah.
And you decide to go to Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
What's the travel like from Canada to Brazil? I take it it's a lot less stressful than the original journey from the UK to Canada within itself. But I would imagine that this is where there's a bit of an eye-opening period of the difference in culture and what part of Brazil did you go to? Was it Rio?
We started in Rio. This was actually around the time of the Olympics.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, 2016. Well. Yeah.
So when we were there, they were like building the whole stadium and everything. But yeah, Rio. Well, we'd both been trying to like learn a little bit of Portuguese before we went because, you know, for survival and things like that.
Yeah. Especially with like how I've watched like documentaries on how like Rio can be a really dangerous place. You know. Like I think there's quite constant mugging in that over there, over in Rio and stuff, and obviously there's, you know, the favelas and that, and you know, crowds can get a bit rowdy and you know, like if you take the, you know, wrong turn, I suppose it probably wouldn't end the best of ways. Was that, I take it that was you and Sean's thinking though, obviously before.
It was, it definitely was at the start. But we noticed like a lot of, well, apparently a lot of the favelas had been quote unquote cleared out, and by any means, I by what means I don't know, and I guess made safer. But we did actually go to a sort of favela party nervously one night, and
was this then there nervously, sweat intensifies. Would this be this? Was this? I remember you saying to me on Rambling On, because we did discuss this a little bit on that back in the day. I remember you saying that you went to was it a Brazilian jiu-jitsu party?
Oh yeah,
because nothing says happy birthday like getting yourself caught on a knee bar, right? Like,
there was. To be honest, I'd completely forgotten about that.
Sorry to bring up bad memories.
Yeah, so when we first got there, we were staying with there's this website called Workaway, no sponsorships. That basically you work for someone and you basically work for your keep. So you just stay in their house, which is a really good, again, transition, because the guy we were staying with was actually Swedish guy, but he spoke fluent Portuguese but also fluent English, so that was really good. And he was kind of teaching us a few things before. When we first got there, we were on the outskirts of Rio, and he was teaching us a few things before we went actually into the middle of it. But the jiu-jitsu party, it was his son, I believe, and he was like, "Oh, do you want to go to my son's birthday party? Just hang around." His son was like 8, I guess. And basically it was just consisted of me and Sean going into this sort of like I guess community hall, and basically just watching these kids fight each other.
Were they all wearing like the gis and stuff like that, or?
I think some of them at least, but it was actually really quite violent. We were both watching it, like, and then we got our party bags to take home. So
you got party bags again? Like,
it was great.
I mean, I think like Brazilian jiu-jitsu is a good thing for people to learn in that, but like for a kids party, it's like you know, like fancy dress would have been enough. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it was an interesting introduction to Brazilian birthday parties.
Yeah, for sure. So I take it the favela party that you went to was a different.
That was
different
so
time.
that was once we got into Rio. We met a couple of people in the hostel, and we'd basically be invited to. It was like a professional dance group, funnily enough, and we were just kind of going up from our hostel into these favelas and stuff, and it was just full of people basically dancing. We were a bit nervous when we first got there. you know, like, foreigners, you know, us, us being foreigners. But no, once we were there for a while, it kind of like relaxed and everything. It was just, you just thought it was like a normal, just normal people just trying to have fun and stuff. So yeah.
So I take it you were working throughout your time in Brazil to keep the flow of being able to be in hostels and stuff like that going.
That was our only one, actually.
Oh, right,
that was our only one, and then Brazil was fairly cheap as well. So we were like, we kind of did our calculations and stuff and realized we probably have enough money to last the rest of the travels without doing any like work and stuff like that. So
what was the purpose of going to Bolivia? I remember you just went there briefly.
I think it was kind of a thing of like, we're down here anyway. We might as well like go across and see some of the other
spare
places.
5 minutes. Fancy go crossing borders to Bolivia.
But yeah, I think the main thing we wanted to go, it was basically on the way to Peru. We wanted to go to Peru, so we just kind of went through Bolivia, and we stayed there for about a week in a place called La Paz, which in English means the peace.
I remember some of the photos you took. The landscape there,
it's crazy.
It's truly breathtaking, mate. It really is.
And it's actually weird. So like economically, so in our country generally, you got the more expensive houses and things like high up on top of hills, and then like with like nice views and everything. In this place, it was completely opposite. So everything in the center was like the richer part, and everything was just slowly being built around it further and further. And that was kind of like, I guess, like the Bolivian favelas version of favelas. And it was just interesting. It was like the complete opposite of what we're used to in this country. But so they arguably had the sort of the better location and like views and things like that. But yeah, that was a very interesting place, I have to say. Yeah. Did
you just make it to Peru? I think I remember. Yeah. You did make it to Peru. How was Peru then?
Peru was a lot more touristy. Yeah, because
it was a lot more structured for tourists to come.
Yeah,
in.
Definitely. Like, sorry, not the whole of Peru. It was mainly Cusco that we went to, which is where you start off if you want to go to like Machu Picchu. So obviously that like attracts a lot of tourists and things like that. We stayed there for a little bit. We wanted to do Machu Picchu, but we were kind of like, we didn't realize you had to book like 8 months in advance or something like that, which is actually insane.
Oh, yeah. Is that just because there's such a big waiting list for it?
Yeah. So you really have to know if you want to do it like a year beforehand, I would say. But yeah, that concluded our South American journeys was in Peru.
So I think you went back to Brazil. Did you go all the way back to Brazil, and then flew from Brazil to Thailand? So what kind of just before we wrap up the kind of Brazil section, like what kind of main things did you take away from that country?
The people are like extremely friendly and like real. Like we didn't experience any like fakeness or anything like that, and we both weren't the best at Portuguese. We knew enough to get us by, but when we couldn't speak, there was always someone there to actually help us out and things like that. It was really nice. We met some really like good friends there. So yeah,
the Brazilians seem like very passionate people.
They definitely are,
especially from like sports that I've watched over the years, where they have like a part in the tournament or like an individual sport. Like the fans that I see, like they seem like a really passionate nation, a really proud nation.
Yeah, no, definitely, they're very, very proud. And something I did notice as well is like the two really passionate sort of things are dancing and football. Like both men and women are extremely passionate. And it's crazy because
like you see like a lot of like old videos and videos from the Brazilian football team of all time, and they all kind of like do dance to celebrations.
Yeah,
and stuff. It kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, really, it's like intertwined in like the culture almost. I feel like when we were there,
and I think they're great at getting behind. Most people that become like these big sports stars from Brazil, whether it's in like the UFC or football or whatever that they're from, like usually 9 times out of 10 they tend to be from the favelas and stuff like that, and
Exactly,
it gives like the whole community and the whole country like a great sense of inspiration, because it's people that relate it to them from where they grew up in that. So yeah, I rate it, mate. I think it's definitely a good place. Obviously there is extreme parts of it and that, but that's the same with pretty much every country, really. So yeah. So Brazil to Thailand, how did that go? Is this where does that go in the list of stressful journeys? Canada's obviously UK to Canada's up here.
That remains at the top. Yeah. That's just like in solid iron at the top. That's not getting budged.
It's already been engraved
anytime soon. But yeah, no, Brazil to Thailand. I think at this point we're just kind of like, oh, you know, it's another flight, another long flight, and then you know, we try and research a little bit of the country before we go there, and we'd heard about like tuk-tuks and stuff like that, like the little taxi cars that they have there. They're sort of made for tourists, I would say, more than the locals. And when we first landed in Thailand, that was one of the first things we saw, was like just basically loads of different people rushing to you to get you in there into their tuk-tuk. I think I'm pronouncing that okay, but that was one of the first things that we heard. Like it's like a weird infamous thing about Thailand is these little cars. But yeah, but apart from that, I'd say it was nice and basically straightforward to get to Thailand from Brazil. Yeah.
Was it I'm kind of drawing a blank here, but I was going to say, in terms of the flights, how were the flights like? Were they all just like normal or that, or was there any kind of difference between, because obviously you are kind of edging across the globe at this point, because you start in the UK and then you go to Canada, and then from Canada to South America, from South America to Asia. Yeah.
I would say, to be honest, the quality is honestly probably the same. Yeah. I noticed all the way through they're really quite good. I noticed them when we did get into this was Bangkok airport. I don't know if this was just an off day for them, but we walked in and basically no one was there to check us, like, at all. And I just thought it just felt there was like no, especially compared to Canada, I guess. It just felt that there was like little to no security. We were just like, oh, we're in Thailand. Here we are. You know,
like, well, we're here.
Yeah.
No 45-minute interrogation this time.
No, yes, that was a plus.
I mean, I suppose it would have been even, like, to put a positive spin on the whole Canada thing, it's probably the best place it could have happened to you, though, because at least like you know, you speak the same language.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I think like if they were trying to interrogate you in native tongues, you had no idea what they were going on about. It definitely would have. You probably wouldn't be on this podcast right now. You know what I mean?
No.
So what was the thought process of going to Thailand? What was it? Why was that on the list?
I'm honestly, that was kind of one of the countries that were just kind of like, yeah, you know, we'll go there. Like, we kind of looked at countries in Asia in general first,
because it seems to be like a lot of like culture, right? Like, you went obviously excluding here, but to North America. And then from North to South America, I would imagine, was a massive culture change.
Yes.
And then from South America to Asia, I would imagine, was also a culture change.
Yeah. So, and to be honest, a massive part of our decision was kind of how easy it was to stay in the country. A lot of the countries, Japan, I think, is a lot harder to stay for a long period of time because of visas. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And I think Thailand was the easiest. You could stay there for 2 months. You just easily get a 2-month visa, and that was it. So that was perfect for us. So that was probably our main thing in the end, just ease. But then we found out that just Thailand is just an amazing place, really.
I remember you saying to me that the hostel was like really, really affordable in terms of like you were barely spending any money by staying them and staying in the hostels and so forth.
Affordable was like almost like an understatement. Like, it was obviously the currency's different as well, so
exchange
it's
rate.
going to seem a lot cheaper to us anyway, because the pound at the time before Brexit.
That's mental. That's like, we were talking about this on the last podcast in 2016, and it's only just been sorted out.
God, procrastinators, and it was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was like £2 a night. So it was, I'm not going to say it was 5-star or anything, but like, it was a place to sleep.
Yeah.
And, with people basically, a secure place to sleep. So it was crazy. That was definitely the most affordable place we stayed in.
which is priceless, right? Like, we always, even though you probably, sometimes you don't realize it because it's something that, is part of, nature, especially in, not nature, but a part of, your kind of setup in this country most of the time.
Yeah.
You take that for granted a little bit. So I think, you kind of puts it into perspective when you see something affordable halfway across the world, where it, like you said, it's a roof over your head and secure place to sleep, right?
Exactly, that's enough. Yeah.
Is it like with the streets and that, and there's like loads of like mopeds and that going about? Is that an accurate representation of what like the streets look like and stuff like that?
Especially in Chiang Mai, which is was our second location in Thailand after Bangkok. So we took a night train from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, which was a surreal experience on its own. So there's basically a train with like 2 bunk beds on either side, with these rotating fans at the top with really dim lighting. It was just really surreal, and just, I think it was a very, very old train. And needless to say, we didn't get a great night's sleep going there. But anyway, so once we got to to Chiang Mai, this was more of like a touristy place as well. I would say, like, more tourist flocks to this place, and it's super easy to get a moped in Thailand, even if you don't have I didn't have a driving license at the time, or a bike license, and basically as long as you have a passport, you can rent a moped. So here's
so that's the security kind of thing coming into play again, right?
Yeah. So fast forward to me and Sean basically going to rent out a moped each and having no idea how one works.
And you can just join traffic and stuff like that?
Yeah. Thankfully, they do drive on the left in Thailand, at least there was
sort of
some familiarity.
Even though you've never driven a ped or on the road in your own country.
I know. And then, so we did that. We rode along with our friend, Kuba, his name was, and basically it was our first real sense of, I guess, freedom on the road, just riding in our vests on a moped.
Not many people's first driving lesson being halfway across the world by themselves.
I know. I didn't even think of it like that. It's like, it's crazy. That's the first. But there is a story sort of with that moped. You may have heard rumors and stories of tourists and stuff getting caught up with Thai police and things like that. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that did happen to me, unfortunately, was I parked my moped straight outside our hostel. It was on a double yellow line, or at least the Thai equivalent of that. Basically, I guess an opportunist police officer. Arguably, yes, I was breaking the law. I was only there for 5 minutes, but he basically clamps my wheel, so I have to get my hostel to phone the Thai police to come and take it off. And so a policeman comes along, and he basically says, "Okay, you need to come to the police station with me to pay this fine." And I was just like, "Oh no, this isn't good at all." And Sean at this time is still in the hostel, I think, like just in one of the bedrooms. I'm damn, Sean doesn't even know I'm about to go to a Thai police station.
Did you think in a way that like it could have been, because obviously you're not too familiar with like the authorities and that over there, do you think there was a part of you that had a bit of anxiety that it wasn't just to pay a fine, that they would maybe like
definitely
keep you in there, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's probably, I guess, partly ignorance on my part, but also it's just what you hear, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
if that's all you've heard,
especially when you're not too familiar with the place.
Yeah.
Right? You don't even know what the procedures are or,
Yeah.
or whatnot. So.
So obviously my first like kind of irrational thought was, oh great, Thai prison. Basically he basically just drove me down the road a little bit. I followed him on the moped. He pulled over.
So you had to follow him?
I had to follow him, yeah. I was obviously a trustworthy criminal.
I know, right? Like the security is not looking good for this country.
I was handcuffed to the bike, but no, we basically, drove down the road a little bit, and he pulled over literally about 15 seconds later. He was like, it's a little bit busy today. If you just give me this amount of money, I'll let you go. Oh, and I was like, what? Oh, okay. You know what? I'll take that. And it was, I think, 800 baht, which I think at the time is like, so it's £16, I think. So it's not a lot.
Yeah. I bet you breathed a huge sigh of relief though when that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah.
Oh man. Some scrapes that you had to go through your times away.
Definitely.
So you finished your time in Thailand, right? I take it there was also parts where you just got to do things that didn't necessarily end up with you having to follow a police officer. There was a fine in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
You're like, can you remember the last day in Thailand? Can you remember the period of the last day of Thailand and then getting on a plane? Did you come straight back from Thailand to the UK, or did you have to like go back to somewhere to then fly to the United Kingdom?
So this was. So I think during about the last month of Thailand, me and my current girlfriend Anna, we decided to I was going to meet her in Norway, so at least she could experience a little bit of traveling, because she just finished school herself. And so that was kind of where me and Sean would have parted ways, was the last day. So yeah, I think it was just a straight flight back to the UK for him. For me, it was just to Oslo.
Did you and Sean reflect on like the whole kind of experience just before he's parted away? I'm not trying to make it sound like the end of a movie, where people separate and there's like credits and stuff like that.
Credits roll.
Yeah.
No, it was kind of a weird one actually, because so we basically traveled to the Thai airport. Sean it was kind of like a quick goodbye. I'm glad we did this, and then. And it was kind of like a month until I saw him again or something like that. So
you were in Norway with your girlfriend and that, yeah.
So it was a weird one. So for me, it was like the enjoyment of being back with my girlfriend and also reflecting on it. And then obviously, I guess Sean was reflecting on it like back in the UK, and, like individually. And then we came back, and then we were just like, damn, there was like a couple of like really messed up moments during that. But it was like mostly like just, really. Just amazing, yeah.
So it was about 9 months you were away for in total?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long time to be away from like your friends and family and stuff like that as well, right? But I guess the kind of question I want to ask to kind of wrap up that whole experience for you, I'll probably ask Sean the same when I speak to him. Like what did that experience do for you? What did you take away from that experience that's benefited you going forward?
I think, I don't think it's just the experience itself, but I think during the time I was listening to, Alan Watts as well while I was traveling, which helped a bit.
Yeah, he was big on traveling, right?
Yeah. And I would say it just made me kind of realize that I saw a lot of like problems these countries are having and stuff like that while I was there as well. And I realized a lot of the problems we think we have here and stuff is like very like minimal compared to theirs,
very
and
first world kind of problems.
And I just, again, that sounds kind of cliche, I guess, but like it kind of, I guess, chilled me out a little bit about some of the problems that we do have here, and just like I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but I just felt lucky basically.
Did it make you reconsider what you viewed as stress?
Yeah, definitely. I think the threshold went up a lot. Yeah. But yeah, I would say that's it pretty much summed up. It's really hard to sum just such a massive.
Was it? I take it was well worth it though. It was a positive. It wasn't a negative.
I'm so glad I've done it. Like,
because even though like you had these times of when you know, you were getting interrogated and you know, going to the favela party and being nervous about that and having to follow the policeman on the moped, which I still can't get my head around. I
know.
It's just, but like even that, if you could view them as negatives at the time, you can still come back and look back on them positively and have a laugh in that.
Yeah, they make pretty good anecdotes now, I have to say.
And also have like these inspirational times with all the people that you met and all the places you got to see and all the cultures you got to experience.
Yeah.
So I think it was definitely well worth it, mate. You know, I feel like if I'd been a bit younger and a bit more open minded, I probably would have tried to do something similar myself. So but there's still time. I don't want to say.
Well, yeah, no.
I mean, well, at the moment it's pretty much impossible. Well, but
there's nothing you can do right now.
Down the line, right? So you come back, mate, and like you said, this was a time where you were saying we're going to be studying and working, so we want to get this in. So it's fair to say that I don't want to say that the band splits up or anything, but you start pursuing like your own different avenues. Like you know, the Three Shades. I don't want to say it came to an end because that makes it sound like something bad happened.
Yeah.
But, obviously, like, you know, you live down south a bit now.
Yeah, Sean, like 3 hours away.
Yeah, Sean's like the opposite way.
Yeah, like Inverness way.
Yeah. And so you all started kind of pursuing your own different projects, and one thing that you took up was digital art, which you were already kind of involved in, but you made your own kind of business page for it, and that, can you touch on that a little bit? And you know, I believe it was originally for like tattoo ideas and portraits and stuff like that.
Not to go back onto the previous subject again, but yeah, it kind of started during the travels. It was kind of just to have something to do on the downtime. And I kind of, so it was like, you know, I just put on Facebook, I'll just design some tattoos for free if you want. Like a couple of my friends basically requested me to do some. And it was just a really good thing to do while I was traveling. And then basically it just evolved into just basically a general art. That's kind of my the whole pencil chav thing is my general I don't know what you'd call it. I guess business name. Not the most professional business name, but
well, people relate to what's the word that I'm looking for? You know, normal, not normal, but you know,
it's more approachable.
Yeah, approachable. Yeah, it's more relatable. But if it was something like glamourpencildrawings.com, people probably be a bit intimidated. You know what I mean?
Something in Latin.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, my pencil chav, just for my love of art and techno. Yeah.
I would imagine like the tattoo designing I'd say industry or line of work, I'd imagine that's pretty popular, because I know lots, especially like young people coming out of school and that, are always interested in getting tattoos and that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was just kind of a case of like, oh, you know, I think a couple of people were like, oh, you know, if he's offering it for free, you know, I might as well. I know, you know, I was perfectly happy to do that. I know a couple of people have actually got them now, which is really cool to see like, my art on someone and things like that. So
that's quite crazy when you think about it, that your you know, your kind of image from your brain that you've transferred onto a paper is now on someone's body for life.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really does feel crazy. And then basically it's just evolved into more digital art now. And that just came from, I just had this overlooming feeling when I was doing all this traditional art that I was just like, damn, like I feel like this, I'm not saying anyone who does traditional art, like the time's past, but it just almost felt like I wanted to kind of future-proof myself and started doing the digital stuff. And it's all transferable. It's the exact same. You just don't use a pencil. You use a Wacom tablet and a you know, so it's all the same, really. But
but it's definitely the way that the world's going, right?
It seems to be. Yeah.
So where can they find Pencil Chav? Do you know the at for it? I think is it at Pencil? Is it just at Pencil Chav?
I think it is. Yeah, it's just at Pencil Chav, like no underscores or anything. It's Instagram's the main place. Plug.
Feel free to plug the. Is it just Pencil Chav on Instagram as well?
Yeah, Pencil Chav, just all lowercase. at Pencil Chav, yeah, and that's
Sweet.
just my art page. But
so people can come to you if they want like a portrait.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you still do the tattoo design
yeah,
thing as well?
yeah, commissions are open and things like that. So
Sweet,
feel
dude.
free to send me a message.
Yeah, we'll try and send people your way, man.
Thank you.
So after you came back, we actually did work on a bit of a project, right? If we can call it that. I thought we'd reminisce a little bit about it.
No.
I know we're kind of coming towards the end of our time in that, but not our time, as in like we're still going to be alive. I just mean recording
doom.
recording time on said podcast. But so I remember on the so we met again. We did the Rambling On episode, right? And we were talking because this is how humble beginnings this podcast was. We had to pause because we were scared that the laptop was going to overheat. And then as we paused it and waited for it to cool down, we went to the co-op to get like donuts, and then came and recorded like a second part of it. But I remember like we were having like, you know, we were conversing during the intermission of the podcast, and we were sitting there eating like a sandwich or something. We were talking back and forth, and we were like, I remember you bringing up like, you know, oh, like my voice always sounds like really rich on these type of things, and we were just having like a bit of a joke back and forth, and like saying if you were a superhero, your name would be Audiobook Man, right? Because it's quite a clear, crisp tone. Yeah. And then was it someone that you knew had maybe listened to that and actually drew you as Audiobook Man?
They listened to it, and I'd been telling them about it as well, and like it was someone from work, Steph, shout out, that did this really cool piece of art, basically just a superhero with
because it's like
a mic and a
face, and it's like
it's really good.
Suit. No, it was absolutely amazing, mate. I remember seeing it, and I was like, you know, that's crazy. Like just something that we were just having a mess about. We've actually looked really good, and we were kind of trying to think of something to come up with to do a project on anyway. And I remember we spoke about it, and our friend Scott that was also helping us out with it and that. We're like, we're gonna make a go of this and just see where it goes. And we actually recorded one episode, and it got animated a little bit. It didn't actually make it to air of that, and I think it's a bit late now because there was a lot of, going back to Brexit for a second. There was a lot of like Brexit talk in it, and I was just thinking, I was like, well, that's one thing. Like, you know, Christmas was like a bit of a bad time for everyone because there was the 5 days of Christmas got took away and all that. And then Boris came out with the whole you know, fish on Christmas Eve. You know, Brexit's done and everything. Sorry about Tier 4, but here we go. There's one thing that we've not dealt with properly done. I remember thinking, like, even though I was like, oh, you know, gonna get to see my family on Christmas and all this, and you know, New Year's gonna suck and everything, the one thing that stood out in my mind was like, no route back for Audiobook Man now. Right? Like Brexit's done all the jokes they gave us 5 years and we messed it up. But, no, that was good. It was good times though, mate. Like I remember it was, I think it was worth doing, even though maybe necessarily it didn't make it all the way as we intended. But I remember some of the laughs we used to have, like writing the script and that, about having the French guy that was actually a secret like Cockney, but he thought it was more acceptable to be French in Scotland than it was English. Like, all
these are the three-dimensional characters you need in the script. And
then that was really good times, mate. And we had our own kind of like little wacky storyline on the go. But I did enjoy that. I think one of my favourite moments of that was definitely being in someone I know is not someone I know, like obviously someone like a friend of mine, recording studio, and we recorded all the lines and that. And it was like, that was a really good laugh.
That was a really funny day.
A really good day, mate. So you know, who knows? Maybe in the future, you know, we might come back to it. Probably not. But
I mean, it was one of those things that like because I think it was at the stage where we needed to animate it, and then I was like, oh, okay, I'll start off the animation, and then I kind of like started it a little bit, and I was like, damn, this is like a massive, because it was like, I think it was like, I guess a 20-minute episode or something like that, and I was just like, I at the time I was like, I'm not experienced enough for this, like, I completely over I guess estimated myself, but like it was just like, I was like, damn, we need more animators if we're going to do this. Like,
I'm just like on the phone, I was like, get the animators. Where are they?
But yeah,
mate, no, it was good. It was good times. So
it really was.
I do look back on it with fondness, even though it like the world didn't get to see it. Maybe it was better the world didn't get to see
maybe
it.
who knows?
Like,
who knows?
We'll never know, and maybe that's a good thing. Some mysteries are best left unsolved.
Yes.
So before we go, man, appreciate the time today, by the way. But before like we met and became friends and everything like that, I always remember hearing one story about you, and it was about you getting excluded from school. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about that for a couple of minutes. I remember we've talked about it previously, but I just wanted to see, in like as years have went by, if anything's kind of like changed in your mind about it, because I don't know what we're going to. I'll explain it because I don't know what YouTube's terms and policy is at the moment, so I'm going to explain it in a hinty way.
Yeah.
So basically, what happened is the school that you were attending had got the pupils to fundraise for something like, was it a climbing wall or something like that? It was a climbing wall that they were being able to use at PE or like what's the interval or break or whatever. And so they hit the target for it, and they built a staff room with it, right? So they basically conned the entire pupil population, like some evil overlords, and was like, yes, we'll get you a climbing wall, and then like as soon as it was like, new staff room with all the coffee makers.
Yeah.
So you've seen this, and you're always someone that because I think it comes from that whole filmmaker type of thing where you see something and you can't just let it. Not like you can't let it go, because it sounds like you're thinking about it at night, but like
lives rent free in my head.
Yeah, but like you have like this part of you that has to kind of show that in a way through your kind of view. So you took an infamous video of a famous
German dictator,
an infamous dictator from past that a lot of people used, and they would reword. It was a scene from a film, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people would. It was basically him going really angry and that, and it had not lyrics, subtitles, and you could edit the subtitles to whatever you did, and you did it in a way of calling them out for what they had done.
Yeah.
And they seen this and excluded you from school from it. Which
it was almost excluded. It was basically a threat of exclusion unless I took it down, and I was crumpled basically, because I was just like, it's probably not worth it, like just keeping it up and risking more trouble. But yeah, it was basically a threat of exclusion unless I took it down, like basically instantly. So
how did they come about seeing it?
So when I first posted it, it did get quite a lot of, not like, it was not viral or anything, but like
a lot of local attention.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were actually thinking the same thing, and were actually really annoyed about this. And it not even just the climbing wall, but just the general management of like finances in the school and things. It just angered a lot of people.
Just the principle, right? Because you had been conned, right? As pupils as a school, you had been promised that you were doing this for you, and they took that money which they had put no effort into and spent it on themselves. Yeah, and they can twist and say that they're teachers and all that, but they did do a despicable thing there, and they've got like it doesn't matter who you work for or what school or whatever you're looking after. That's what you did. Yeah. And just wanted to ask you, like, looking back on it now, if you had that decision again of, first of all, making the video and posting it, and if you could go back now and either keep it up or take it down, with the head that you have now, would you? I feel like I know the answer. I could be wrong, but I feel like you would have kept it up, because I feel like it's in your personality not to not be sent. I wouldn't say. I mean, it was censorship, but not in the way most people see it now. It was a way of, you've actually called us out on something that we've actually done, and we can't have that.
I think I don't know, even that might have even been the start of my my worries, I guess, about it. It's not a massive issue, but like my worries of like censorship and stuff like that, because that is one of my big things now. But like, I think I probably, with my head now, I probably would have kept it up. Yeah, especially since I feel like I still don't know how much of a difference like higher education, like 5th year and 6th year, has actually even made a difference. So like, if I could go back now, I definitely keep it up. Maybe change some of the wording, because some of it is just straight like blunt. To be a little bit more poetic, I guess.
More not professional, but you know,
it was a bit on the nose. I'll put it that way. But like,
but I feel like it kind of. I think the reason that it did get so much attention though is, like you said, it related to people, how people were feeling. Like that blunt and angerness was what a lot of people's were feeling towards that. Because like we'll say again, and I'm not going to be afraid to say it, because I had problems with that school as well when I was leaving, and I'll go into it later down the line on this podcast or something like that. But a lot of the higher ups there were definitely in it to help each other out rather than actually benefit pupils in their education and stuff like that. And I'm not going to say otherwise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, like, even though you said it was a bit hard on the nose and stuff like that, I think it shows a lot of why older people are, not older people, but more further along in their careers and that are always trying to demonize young people and trying to stop them from, because young people will call stuff out and they will gain attention and force change in places, and I think that really does scare people that are cozy in their own kind of ways that benefit them. So
I think it was a bit of that. The when I got called into the office about it, it was an interesting conversation. I'm not going to name names or anything, of course. But
to protect the identities of the innocent and guilty and all that.
But yeah, one of the people was saying, I actually do personally find it quite funny, but it's some of the stuff you say is kind of ridiculous. And I was just like, all right, okay. And then someone else was basically, no, this is not funny at all. Take it down right now or you're excluded, basically. And I can't believe it actually got to their eyes and ears. Like, that's crazy enough on its own. But
again, it forced that self-reflection on them. Like we were saying about at the start of the episode, it forced the reflection. The one that was the angriest was probably the one that was pursuing the idea the most, I would imagine, because it forced that reflection on them. And instead of accepting it and accepting, like, they'd kind of, mugged off a bunch of kids that they'd got to do the work for them, they rejected it and threatened and stuff like that.
Exactly,
No, mate. Well, dude, I appreciate your time today, man. It's been really an experience talking again.
It's been good to actually go down memory lane a little bit and stuff like that, to be honest. So.
Yeah, man. So we'll plug your Pencil Chav Facebook and Instagram. Check for now if you're needing like a tattoo design or a digital portrait, etc. Get in contact. Great work. Made the podcast art for our channel. I'm actually maybe going to get in touch about maybe making a profile photo. Not in for the immediate future, but like, you can take your time. And get something out. The podcast art kind of had to be forced through a little bit because we had like a deadline. But no, appreciate your time again today, mate. Always a pleasure talking to you. So appreciate it, dude. Cheers.
Yeah, no worries.
This podcast is also available on Google Podcasts, Breaker, Pocketcasts, RadioPublic, and Spotify.